All right, I'm out cleaning up a bedding area on this very, very windy Minnesota day. The plan today is to get a lot of cutting done in the bedding area. I haven't done any real maintenance in this bedding area for 2 or 3 years, so it needs it really badly. But what I'll do is I'll go through with the chainsaw, brush saw, maybe even the leaf blower, clean it up a little bit. This will probably be a multiple part video, but I'll show you what I'm up to today just to get this bedding area cleaned up. And then I'll shoot a second video probably later this spring, and maybe even a third video this summer with what I plan to do in this bedding area. So follow along and I'll show you what I'm up to. All right, all done. So I'm going to do a quick tour through this bedding area. I'll show you what I was up to today, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do in the future. All right, so here's my entrance in. So you can see I took the leaf blower and blew out this entire bedding area. I have very good dirt exposure right there. So the reason for that is because I do plan on seeding this bedding area. Now, it was seeded at one point 4 or 5 years ago. I did not maintain it. The seed has died off. So I blew back the leaves today to give me good dirt exposure, and that will be something that I will be doing probably in about 2 months. Now, the reason I'm not frost seeding right away is because we got a lot of this in here. It's Canada thistle. So what I'm going to do, these bare dirt areas, is I'm going to hit them with glyphosate. The reason I'm using glyphosate is because it does not have a residual, so it's neutralized once it hits the soil, so I don't got to worry about seeding after I spray gly. But I'll come in with the backpack sprayer, I'll spray glyphosate in these areas, and then follow that up with my seeding of clover, and I'll probably mix in a little bit of chicory. And the type of clover I'm going to use in here most likely will be white Dutch, maybe some ladino, and then chicory. I'm toying with the idea of throwing some red clovers in here too, so we'll see what happens. Or we'll see what seed I have when I finally decide to get in here and work on this area in a couple months. One big focus of today was to cut off some hinges that had died. Now, I've talked about hinge cutting. Not all the trees live. You can be the best hinge cutter in the world and you're going to have trees that die. So what happens is when they die, they kind of settle a little bit. They form some blockades. So I got in here and I cleaned them up. I also had just some branches and things like that that fell that I cleaned up. So I have great trails going back through this bedding area now. Here's one of the best features of this bedding area. So I get the question quite a bit, should you treat and kill your ironwoods? These make really, really good bedding structure in here, because you can see they stump sprout pretty prolifically. And now I got this sweet, sweet little bedding pocket in this bedding area that did not sit up. This bedding area did not set up well for hinge cuts, so I only got a handful of hinge cuts in here, mostly flush cuts in this bedding area. But leaving these ironwoods like this has created some awesome little bedding nooks. Actually, most of the ironwoods in here, I didn't treat any of them, and a lot of them the deer killed, because when they stump sprout, that's the only time ironwood is very desirable to deer. But they hammered them, they killed them. See a lot of stumps like that. Another one right there that are just dead, that the deer killed for me. But these little bedding pockets are awesome in this bedding area, especially when I don't have very many living hinge cuts. Here's another one of these little ironwood bedding pockets. So what I did, I had the brush saw, came in and cleaned it out so deer can get in here. They can escape right out that way, and they have a great spot to bed down. I am not worried at all either about having to reset these. I mean, these will eventually get mature, and they won't have this same nice bush because they're going to thin themselves a little bit. Not a big deal. It takes literally seconds to come in and cut these off and restart them. So I am not worried about that. Right now they are providing great structure, and I also love how they hold their leaves all the way through the winter. So a little bit of thermal cover too. Here's another one of those spots that just had a bunch of hinge cuts going across. It was my own fault. I should have known better. I came into this area and it was mostly hard maple and ironwood, and I wanted to make it a hinge cut bedding area, and the trees did not set up well for it. So it's okay. I mean, look at the woody regen I got in here. So the hinges died, but I still got the awesome woody regen. I just needed to take a few minutes and clean up some of the hinges that kind of were obstructing more than providing a benefit. So this central area kind of has most of the beds, so I made sure to try blow as much. It's tough to see in the video, it looks thick, but the clover seed's going to fall into those grasses and things like that. I'll probably take the backpack blower in one more time just before I blow it out. But this is kind of the central hub of this bedding area. We got escape, escape, escape. If you come up that way, there's an escape going that way, that way, that way. I mean, plenty of areas for the deer to move around in here. And again, if you don't like hinge cuts, you don't need to do it. I mean, look at the level of woody structure that is in here just from these trees that have fallen down. So this was an area that was obstructed, cleaned it up. So there's a trail going back out that way that was obstructed, cleaned that back up. Had one hinge that settled a little too much, cut that off. You don't have to hinge cut if you don't like hinge cuts. They're tough to do well anyway. You really need the right tree species, but just chop and drop will still accomplish goals you're looking for in creating nice thick cover, security cover in the woods. There's a hinge that I cut off, just one that died, hard maple. I love it how when I hear people that don't like hinge cuts, they're like, oh, you create a huge mess, it's going to be impossible to clean up, blah blah blah. Whether the tree's living or not, you come in, zing, it's like 10 seconds, drop the tree, I cut the trunk here, and we're good to go. Because I've had to cut dead hinges, I've cut living hinges just when I'm kind of retooling, restructuring bedding areas. It takes seconds, so don't let the naysayers deter you, because I would say 99 times out of 100, guys that are critical of hinge cut as a practice have never done it themselves. They're just watching videos online and speaking from their non-experience. I do like leaving pockets of trees standing. The deer, you know, if we got thick structure all the way around it, a little warmer day, they'll be bedding right here, catching good airflow. I also like to leave small trees, some small trees for them to rub up against. Might be an old rub right there. But I want to, leave some of that structure, vertical trees, and these are nice maples, so I do want a handful of them to take off. We love maple syruping. I don't know if we'll ever have to tap in this area, but I'll leave some of my nice straight trees for the future. You can see we log heavily out that direction, very heavily. Lots of Canada thistle came back, but if I were to zoom in, here I'll zoom in quick. Sorry, my glove's in the way there. You can see there's plenty of ironwood maple coming back. So that will outcompete the thistle eventually, so I'm not going to stress out. There's one circumstance where I'm not going to take the time to fight the Canada thistle that came back in here. Eventually the woody species will win. This might take a little while. So in this bedding area, everything's kicking out right in front of this deer stand over here. Here's a trail I cleared. Went out to this shooting lane. Goes up the hill there. See, I will be seating right down, right past the stand here. There's the deer stand. It's a little tight, a little close, but probably a 15-yard shot. I'm gonna pull them right by here. Odds are the deer will be coming from that way, so they shouldn't silhouette me. I can use the trunk. When I've shot my bow out of that stand, I've been able to kind of hide behind the trunk. My shots are normally out this direction because northwest wind in the morning, all the movement tends to come this way. This is a morning spot, but with the northwest blowing that direction, my trail's all pulling right here. This is where I expect the deer to come, and I expect to get my shot somewhere right in here because I got a corridor popping out right there. Northwest is blowing over that way. Corridor here, shooting line here. And even if they come into the northwest right there, by the time they silhouette me, I should have my bow drawn back and have about a 25-yard shot right there. So one addition, why do I seed clover? Biggest reason in this area is it's going to help suppress the Canada thistle and the junk I don't want in here. If I can get this a nice clean seed bed and get the clover seeded, it's going to help that out. And two, when I did seed this area before, I did see good activity in it, and it didn't seem to deter the deer from hitting my really good food source right out there, the food plot, but it did seem to enhance this some. So you can seed your bedding areas. It's not always necessary. I got plenty of other bedding cuts that I haven't seeded yet. Just getting the bedding cut made is the biggest thing. But you absolutely can seed bedding areas. It's not going to hurt anything. A lot of the guys that I really respect do this quite a bit. I know Jim Ward, Jake Ealinger have shown seeded bedding areas, and it certainly works for them, and it has worked for me too. So you can, if you got the time to add that little extra level of maintenance to your bedding areas, by all means do it. And it is the circumstance that I really tend to recommend it the most in is when I'm trying to add food to a property and there's just limited spots to put food. It's nice to seed down the bedding area. So just one other thought on the why behind seeding this. All right, so that was it for today. I will plan to drop part 2 in a couple months, and then I'll even do I said probably a part 3 to show how everything's growing, how it looks in the summer. But yeah, this area needed some help. It's one that got away from me, awfully busy in the summer, and had a little bit of time here to do this today, so that's why I'm out here. But looking forward to getting back at it in a couple months, and can't wait to see what this bedding cut does in the fall. All right, y'all take care. God bless.